Good afternoon to you, friends. I'm Professor Dinesh Gusai. In today's session, we'll be going through HRM, Human Resource Management, as you must be aware of. And in this HRM, what we'll be today discussing few interesting case studies, not only important only from a case perspective, but we'll be looking into from the organization perspective as well. We have taken up few niche examples, some big names, some might not be big names as well, but very much relevant if you are studying organization from a human resource perspective. Students, let me tell you, if you are already working in the function of HR management or intend to work in HR in due course of time, one of the key challenges always has been appraisals. Now, appraisals, as you are all aware, is to appraise people about the development, how the employee has fared throughout that financial year, maybe April to March or Jan to December, whatever the case might be, based on which company the employee is working for. Now, appraisal, you are aware that it's filled once in a year. The review is happened maybe once in a quarter, for some time once half yearly as well. But primarily appraisal is filled in a financial year, in a 12-month period, and there are a lot of things connected to appraisal, and we will look into this as we go on. And when we say a lot of things that related to appraisal, it means that things like financial tangibles, things like training and development, things like employee engagement, things like feedback, things like mentoring and coaching, all these things are actually connected with appraisals. Now, when the concept of appraisal was evolved earlier, maybe last 40-50 years back, the prime intention was to see how employee could perform better and looked into various elements that could be brought about for future development. But in the last 50 years, appraisals have evolved a long time, and it has come up very thick and fast. And let me tell you that today, when we think of filling appraisals, they are based on certain competencies. Now, when we say competencies, we need to understand what does competencies mean. So that's what we will start off. Our first case is about competency assessment. Now, appraisal, when we say, it's about getting into competency, knowing them better, and also understanding what repercussions or what effects it has on the organization growth. Now, we should understand what are competencies. So, competencies comes from the word being competent. Now, across the industries, across world markets, competition has been increasing manifolds. And when competition is increasing manifolds, the organization or the employees working in the organization need to be more competent to face that competition. And if an employee needs to be competent, he needs to develop certain competencies to face the competition. So that's how the connect is there. And we'll find out of what are these competencies, based on what, because these competencies are different for different organizations. In this case, we take a case study over here for this organization. We'll take NFIL or Naveen Florin International Limited, will be the case study for us as far as the competency is concerned. But different organizations have different competencies based on which based on the mapping they have done. Mapping could be based on industry norms, could be the growth drive, could be the future projection of the organization, the expansion plan, the technological intervention, so on and so forth. So competencies are mapped based on this. So before we get into this, we will try to slightly understand a bit more on competency. So when we say competency is a criteria for success, or we call these attributes required for success. Now, competencies are specific work behaviors distinguishing high and low job performance. Objective always remains that the competencies are mapped primarily to increase performance, and appraisals are the window or the platform through which it could be evaluated, a feedback could be given, and a future roadmap or a blueprint could be developed so that the employee can work towards it, develop the requisite skills or knowledge or whatever is required so that he become more competent. So we should understand that one is a trait and the other is a behavior. So what are traits and what are behaviors? So when we say traits, it's about the personality. But when we say about the behavior, it describes the action and the consequence. And traits are subjective, general, difficult to observe and to measure as well. Whereas behaviors are observable. They're more specific if really made into observation and can be also measured. And that's the reason when we want to plot competency, because competencies are all internal attributes. Now these internal attributes are triads. For example, patience, honesty, hard working. These are all internal attributes. Politeness, sincerity, flexibility. These are all triads. But these triads cannot be measured generally from a work context. For that to be measured, they need some behavior. And these behaviors are mapped and plotted and appraised. So if you measure triads, you are bound to be influenced by personal biases. So if you assess behaviors on the other hand, you are more likely to get valid results, and then that can be translated into more effective and objective and which are more fair. Now understand that when we speak of appraisal, there are a lot of speculation in terms of people always have the notion that it generally is more prejudiced or more favored, where a boss may be favoring a respective employee, maybe because of likelihoodness, so many other social factors as well, social economic factors as well. So from an HR perspective, these biases or prejudices need to be minimized to the maximum. We never can say it could be eliminated per se, but it definitely could be minimized to the very maximum. Great. And when we get this fair idea of competencies, what we also get to know is the training programs that could be developed for the employee, the succession and career plans, the performance management system, the PMS, the employee assessment centers for growth development of a learning as such. It could be for job design and business process maps as well. So when we say job design, it could be for expansion. It could be creating new jobs. If it's installation of or commissioning of a new plant, say for example. So what makes a competency valid? Now when we say competency, it is made up of three elements, and a very important element of any competence is made up of three elements, and those are also called as KSAs or ASK or ASK, which are abbreviated terminology standing for knowledge, skill, and attitude. I repeat, KSA standing for knowledge, skill, and attitude. Now it correlates with the job performance as well. Now it can be measured against specific standards. So there are standards about it. So that means there will be a scale to measure. Specificity comes with, they say that whatever in MBO we always mention this, or management by objective we always mention this, that whatever that could be measured only could be managed. Whatever that could be measured only could be managed. That also means that whatever you can't measure can't be managed or difficult to manage. And that's where stems the objective of management, where they're more specific in orientation, more measurable in orientation. So if something is not working out, we need to do something else about it. Maybe a different approach about it. So when we say competency that could be improved, developed, and learned and acquired. A competency is a qualification to perform, but is not the actual performance. So understand, so when we say competency, they are the kind of root about the performance. They are the prerequisites. They are the essentials for performance. They are not the actual performance. So actual performance is measured by all organizations by the actual business tangibles. It could be sales orientation. It could be the actual achievables, which are more tangible in nature. So we call that business competencies. So from an HR appraisal perspective, there are two competencies. One, the business competencies, and two, which is more inclined to HR competencies, are called the behavioral competencies. So appraisal forms a mix of both. So this is an interesting slide. If you look at the slide closely, it stands for the iceberg that we always are aware of, which we more relate to the conscious or unconscious mind. But if you resemble this, if you see the tip of the iceberg, which is seen in a darker shade or blue in color, it is mentioned as observable behavior. And you see the green line. That means that whatever is seen outside is the observable behavior, but that behavior comes from a lot of depth. If you see, the surface inside comes from the employee's knowledge, skill, and attitude, but much more deep-seated are motives, values, traits, and self-concept or identity or intentions. So the lowest level of this iceberg form the basis of competence. This is where our competency exists. From these competency or triads evolve the knowledge, skill, and attitude, and that gets reflected as behavior. So competency may take the following form. It could be KSA or other characteristic of an individual that could include motives, values, self-identity, concept, and self-definition as well. So when we say of appraisal of a competency-based system, the core competencies that is required for, so the question emerges, what do we get from this competency? If we measure this competency of an individual, of an employee, what do we get out of it is the question. Now understand, students, that the quality of questions you ask determines the quality of life you will lead. Ask empowering questions to yourself always. So if you ask an empowering question, you will get an empowering answer. If your question itself is weak, then your answer is bound to be weak as well. So the good question to ask over here is, what do I get if I map a competency appraisal? So if you map a competency appraisal, or if you appraise it, few things that come out are: one, a recruitment and selection classification. The we can focus on performance more detailed, more specifically. The needs could be, the TNA could be procured from here, the training need analysis could be procured from here, succession planning could be done. When we say succession planning, it's about when we are praising somebody, we also get to know that how is the performing evolving and developing at that level. We also look into the career and workforce planning as well. It is a performance management as well. So it's a systematic route from a very holistic perspective where we look at from the reward program, the growth program, the learning program as well. So competencies are those behaviors that an excellent performers exhibit much more consistently than average performers. Important word over here is consistently, very important keyword. With a group of behaviors that take together better describes and communicate performance expectations. Understand that competencies are those behaviors. See, certain behaviors, say for example, certain behaviors can be manipulated. And when I say manipulated, say for example, a person can behave even if he's in a bad mood. If he's meeting his boss, he still can change his behavior. But when the same person is in a bad mood, when he comes back home or along with his friends, he remains in the original mood because, let me tell you, you can't really mask things for a longer period of time. And understand that people can change behaviors maybe for a short period of time. But if you really want to understand people better, spend time along with the individual, because that's where true reflection of personality come up, which is coming from deep-rooted competencies or triads, which is a reflection of motives, intention, purpose as well. So in HR, we always say that if you want to interview an individual for any job position, don't interview him only once. Interviewing him many times, maybe 2-3 times, at different intervals. So what happens is when we meet individuals 2-3 times and spend around 15-20 minutes in each sitting, we are more closer to his triads. Because behaviors, he can't keep it consistently if he's masking or if he's showing a false figure. But competencies show off their own colors of whatever they are on a consistent basis. So in HR, we interview, that's a prime philosophy, we interview people multiple times over. When we say multiple times, maybe 2-3 times over. And if they are key positions, then many times over. That's one way of doing it. The other thing also is, while interviewing with people around, we also say that interview him or her at different times of the day as well. So if you've interviewed him, say once in the morning, and when you want to interview the second time over, interview in the evening or in the afternoon as well. Because different days of the work or different days as well, or different timings of the day also has an impact on the state as well. We also need to understand what competencies are not. So we should know what are competencies. Competencies are not. Competencies are not a psychological construct. That means no single behavior can be termed as the conflict management. Not knowledgeable, but the application of knowledge. It's not about knowing it only, but about the doing about the knowing. They say that we not only need to know what we need to do, but we should do what we know. A lot of times people struggle a lot because they know a lot. And let me tell you, friends, knowing is good to a certain extent, but just knowing and keeping between your ears over here, the data between your ears and your brain is just a database. It really is not going to fetch you results. So if you want real knowledge to be applied, it has to come into your life. That means any skill that you are learning over here, that knowledge is important. But then it has to percolate it down through your skills into your action. So it has to come into results as well. That's what performance is all about. So this has to come into actionable area. So when we say antimony of a competency, it would be title, that is one or three words tilting competency, definition, what to do, that means the knowledge, KSA, and also the performance statement, the how about it, the how to do it, groupings of behavior statement describing successful performance. So it could be used also in PMS or performance management system, where it is integrating competencies within the performance management, process support, the provision of feedback to employees, not only on what they have accomplished, but also how the work was performed using competencies for providing feedback. So these days when we speak of organization, it's not only about the performance, but it's also important to know how have you got the results. Now, why this importance on how, students, is because you know what happened to Satyam. Now, you might get results, but if you're not really concerned about the how, sometimes your ethics might go for a toss. That means the way you are doing business might not be ethical or ecological, or might not be according to the social rules. So you might get profits or business, but it has to be according to the norms, according to the norms available as per society norms. It has to be legal as well. So when we are integrating competency with PMS, it helps. PMS is performance management system. It helps employees in understanding performance expectations and also about enhancing competencies as well. It is to provide mechanism for giving positive feedback about an employee's training achievements and also the job performance. Appraisal gives the platform, the time, because appraisals are a planned affair where the employee and the employer sit down together and have a real nourishing discussion for self-development. To provide job standards for performance appraisal. So when we say job standards, every hierarchy level, if you see, is benchmarked. For each competency, we will look into the examples, you will have a better clarity then. Each competency is also benchmarked with certain minimum criteria that each employee needs to deliver at that particular level. It is also to provide clear direction for learning new job skills as well. So when we speak competencies helping training, so competency-based training focus on what the participant is expected to be able to do in the workplace, as opposed to just having theoretical knowledge. So it's not about the knowing, but it's about the doing as well. And important characteristics of competency-based training is that it is focused not only on the actual jobs that are required in the workplace, but also on the ability to transfer and apply the skills as well, knowledge and attitude to new situations and environments. So whenever an employee is working in any job context, it is not just about knowing what to do, but also about how to do it. It's also about the skills and also what are the beliefs he has about the job, what meanings he is giving about the job. Because if the meaning that is given to the job per se is not really empowering, then the quality of work that he does over a period of time tends to diminish. So whenever an appraisal is being done, the employer or the reporting manager also need to check on these aspects about the meaning of the job as well. The advantages of competency-based training, or CBT as it is called, are: number one, the participants will achieve competencies required in the performance of the job. Since these competencies are mapped based on that particular kind of job designation, then obviously if these competencies do well, that automatically means it leads to better performance. Participants build confidence and succeed in mastering specific competencies. So it's a fallout of it. It means if you're doing well in certain competencies, it also means that you will build confidence over it, because confidence is directly related to skill. So the more skill you have, your confidence tends to go up. So a lot of time when I interact with students, people ask that how to increase confidence. And that's a very good question actually. That's a very simple question, yet very effective, powerful question. And the simple answer to it, and yet is the very defining answer, is develop the skills. Now any function, any work that you are doing, look at what skills are required. Learn the skills fast. If you do the skills well, you will naturally become more confident. And so they are more directly related about it. So participants receive a transcript or list of the competencies they have achieved. Since appraisals gives this platform, so CBT, or competency-based training, also becomes very effective. It also is a route map for development. That means all businesses are primarily based on some key competencies. The main reason of an organization to create a competency-based development system that focuses on having a right people with the right skills at the right time, in that it's helping to accomplish business targets as well. So competencies are the need of the hour, and designing appropriate competency really helps a lot to align people not only to individual goals, but aligning to organizational goals as well. So when we look into advantages of competencies for development, they are improvement in productivity, profitability, identify employees' capabilities for organization future needs. For example, this is part of career mapping, where the organization is also looking forward for certain people to look on and take up key positions as they grow within the organization, and also analyzing capability gaps as well. It also is a way to understand which skills need to develop or which knowledge need to grow and develop as well. So when we see of compensation, because appraisal more so often is related to compensation, so definitely competency-based pay fits this new environment. It provides an ongoing incentive to employees to enhance their ability to perform. Also, it's add new skill and knowledge and then demonstrate higher level of competency. The advantages of competency-based pay, it's not about equal work and equal pay. The times that we are living in, it's about results. It's about what kind of results are you delivering back to the organization. And results comes from being competent, and competent come from competency. So all are intricately related. So it provides a basis for deciding on the compensation. So if you have good competencies based for the requisite job, for example, let's take an example. For a salesperson, for example, somebody who's in sales and marketing. The competencies, any guesses that will be required for sales competencies? The competencies would be, for a salesperson, would be: 1, being assertive; 2, being goal-oriented; 3, having good communication skills; 4, having good presentation skills; the good knowledge about the product, the customer, the company, about the environment, about the competitor. So these are the prerequisite competencies and the skills required. So this also gives advantage about understanding these well. It encourages employees to develop their competencies further. Since they are benchmarked or scaled, it helps them to improve those well. It leads to focus on totality of job rather than just what is achieved. This system fits every job as well. So when we look at competency-based strategic alignment, one if you see in red, which is as agency performance measure, the how about it and the what about it. So when we say what, these are all business competencies. When we say how, this is about the behavioral competencies. So it's about, for example, certain competency if you want to mark it out, on the first two columns if you read, how do you plan on evaluating or developing performance? Or what critical skills are needed to accomplish identified duties and activities? So these are asked to open-ended questions as well. Now, when we say on the how, for example, if a person comes to an appraisal and when the questions of these kind of order are pitched in, this becomes very powerful. For example, if the appraiser is asking the appraisee, okay, please evaluate yourself. How has been the year that went by? What are the key learnings have you drawn from the last year? Where have you grown? Where are the areas that you need development? Have you identified some skills or knowledge that you need to incorporate so that you unleash more, you become your better self, you perform better? So these are questions that are really asked in appraisals as well. So when we see the phases, it's about defining the future, analyzing current workforce, closing the gaps between what is required and what we have, and then monitor, evaluate and revise. This is the basic premise on which the entire competency model is there. Understand, students, that an HR executive or a manager need to know these competencies very well, because competencies and behavior are interlinked, and it's a behavioral attribute as well. So let's take a case to understand this competency further. We are speaking of Naveen Fluorine International Limited. They are big time into chemicals. A lot of fluorine products, they produce a lot of APIs or active pharmaceutical ingredients for pharmaceutical sectors, and also fluorine-based gases which are used in refrigerations, air conditioners, air coolers as well. So big name as far as chemical industries are concerned. So let's understand, and then more and more into a manufacturing setup. So look into this case. Now when you appraisal, every appraisal has a scale on which the competency is measured, mapped. Understand competency, we discussed earlier as well, it needs to be specific and measurable. The scale which Naveen Fluorine uses is 0 to 3. Now, key definition need to be understood over here. 0 means, if you read the first sentence over here, performance does not meet minimum criteria. 1. Satisfactory performance but with significant shortcomings. 2. Good performance in most areas. 3. The first sentence, very good performance of the job. So this is the general reading about each of these statements. So every competency what Naveen Fluorine does is when they sit on appraisal forum, they kind of discuss this out between an employer and employee, and understand, students, that appraisal is a planned affair. It is not that when a manager finds time, he will start appraising people. One, date, time, venue is fixed for appraisal. And since it's a planned meeting, people go with data, logistics, the certain stats about it. Now, assessment guideline, the rating of 2 or 3 against a given behavior indicates that the assessed employee may have strength in this competency. The lower rating may indicate that the assessed employee has not opportunity to demonstrate these competencies. Now what Naveen Florin, or NFIL we will call it as, Naveen Florin International Limited, they have divided into two competencies, that NFIL competencies and individual competencies. When we say NFIL competencies, these are the competencies that across the spectrum of their employees all use this. This is common for all. And individual competencies are four. These are commitment, teamwork, analytical thinking and decision making, and communication interpersonal skills. Now, in Naveen Florin, what they do is the left three are common for all bands or all grades. But out of the four which are available in individual competencies, the employee or the appraisee need to pick up two competencies out of four. So, what each employee would be appraised on every year would be on 5 competencies, 3 which are common for all and 2 based on the requirement, based on the functional domain, and based on its SWOT as well. So let's look into what their definitions mean. When we say of customer focus, the ability to deliberate, establish contacts with potential customers. It's about identifying new customers or potential customers, anticipate their needs and fulfill them. So when we speak of customer focus, few things normally comes up which are important and relevant. 1, need orientation. Being responsible, accountable, and having ownership of the job. Being transparent. It also means walking the talk. When we say walking the talk, it means that whatever you say, you do it. And let me tell you, students, if you want to make it big in life, in any function that you work with, in any organization, this is a very important attribute of customer focus. Walk your talk. Because a lot of time, people just talk and only talk. And if you're going to do that, over a period of time, you will devalue yourself, because your talking has to come to your work as well. They say, gone are the days of customer satisfaction, the days of customer delight. So it's about under-promising and over-delivering. It's about being patient to holding on with your customers. It's about being attentive. That means whatever you're doing at a workplace, being 100% present to it. It's about knowing the functional knowledge. It's about handling surprises. It's about accepting mistakes. It's also part of responsibility as well. It's about answering questions from the employees in a candid way as well. When we speak of quality orientation, it's the ability to facilitate high standard of performance for self, others, and organization. After a preset are achieved, it includes identification of opportunities to area improve. So when we say quality orientation, for any product or service, we can improve quality by varying 4 variables. And the 4 variables are cost, quality, time, and convenience. If we can really change one of these 4 variables, we can change the quality of the product. For example, if you're doing a process, if you're doing the same process in less cost, are you improving its quality? Yes. If you can do in less time, or if you can make it more convenient to people around, or the system around, you're improving the quality of the process. Delivering at pace is important. Setting high performance standards is important. Eliminate non-value adding products. Anticipate potential problems and contingency plan. Develop and maintain systems for monitoring work and data quality, and monitor compliance as well. Result. When we speak of result orientation, as we have spoken as well, that it is a willingness to accept responsibility and includes reliability, being resilient. Resilient means the ability to bounce back fast if you fall down. And the perseverance needed as well. So when we speak of results, few things definitely come up. One is being goal-oriented, planning and organizing, working that extra mile. Students understand that if you're in today's time, if you're just doing what is expected of you, you really can't grow much. Any function, including HR function, we need to walk that extra mile. We need to do that extra. We're not even expected out of it. It's action aligned to result. That is, a lot of time you find people just about busy, but we call them busy with their business. So at the end of the day, when we ask them, okay, what are the results? So they say, oh, I really don't know. So any action that you are doing has to be leading to results. Analyzing and being resilient is important, and to-do list means important things first. When we speak of teamwork as a competence, it's about ability to influence, enthuse, motivate a common objective. It is to also to work in a collaboratively as well. So when we speak of teamwork, certain skill and knowledge involved are taking initiative, being flexible. Team goals more important than individual goals. So when you are working for any organization, it's not about one work, nobody is working for anybody. It's about everybody is working for a larger cause than themselves. It's about being self and team motivated. It's about everybody is different and unique. This is that all five fingers are different. So when you're working in team, we need to understand and respect the differences as well, and yet find a common mission to work with. Delegate work, implementation, value contribution to others, trust, which is an important part of teamwork, and inclusiveness as well. And when we see of individual competencies, the thing that is expected from an NFIL or Naveen Flow International Limited are, when we speak of communication skills, there is an interest in for people to include desire to understand others. Interpersonal understanding, it is to communicate in a manner where people understand each other's views of thoughts. It's about keeping accurately informed to each other. It's about asking open-ended questions. A lot of time people ask closed-ended questions, yes or no kind of questions. Yes or no question doesn't help. So ask open-ended questions, waits for other people to finish their intended message, is willing to listen and approach by others, appropriately expresses one's own opinion. It's about persuasion skills, conflict management, and expresses ideas clearly and concisely in writing as well. So this is about communication skills. So when we speak of analytical thinking and decision making, now this is a competency. When we say analytical thinking, it comes from the word making analysis. That means if among the given data that is available, if you can analyze that data well, if you can detect patterns, if you can interpret things like what initiated or who initiated the system, what effects it had, what happened, what is the strategy to win, or what was present when failure happened, or what was absent when failure was happened. This is all about analysis. It's asking about the 5 W's and why questions, about what, where, when, and how questions. It's about openness to look differently. We should be able to do the root cause analysis. When we name the root cause analysis, we say that any effect has multiple roots, and every effect leads to multiple causes as well. So they're all interlinked. It's also about risk management, and also to identify that what got you here won't get you there. It's also titled the book, though. I would like to repeat, what got you here won't get you there. That means that when we are doing analytical thinking, it means that if you are consistently doing whatever has been done and expect the same results to happen, it might not have, because the market and dynamics are changing so very fast. Commitment, a very heavy word. First of all, a very emotionally heavy word. So it's about ability and willingness to align with the needs, priorities and goals as well. It's about a genuine intention to cooperate with one or more people and to support the achievement as well. So when we say of commitment, it starts with intention. Understand, friends, that a lot of time people give excuses like, I never get time to do blah 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 blah, whatever the thing might be. Now, if this is happening consistently, that if a person is not finding time to do whatever, it's always time to check intention. That means, is the person really interested in? Because they say that whatever you have interest in, you will always find time. Certain time you can miss out on, yes. But if you think that consistently being missed out in life, it's a clear sign to check intention. So commitment also starts with intention. That means the purpose. Are you intentional about it to do it? It's also about alignment to your values. It's about accepting responsibility for your own actions and decisions. It's establishing priorities in the department and taking actions accordingly. So what NFIL has done, or Naveen Fluin has done, is they have designed a matrix or a grid. Based on the grade they have plotted. If you see the chart, the columns, the extreme right three columns are mentioned as senior manager and above, manager to assistant manager, and executive officer. Now, the scale that they use is 0 to 3, as we got to know this. Now, these are the points that they're expecting of each level. Now understand, even if the employee is joining day 0, there are certain competencies they expect it to be 3. That's the maximum scale. And these competencies, as you can see from the chart, are commitment and teamwork, that they expect them to be 3. Now they also still give detailed approach about each competency. That means 0 to 3 is defined to the core. Now why they have done it, let's take one example. Let's take the first one, that's about customer focus. In customer focus, 0, we have discussed they have a 0 to the scale. 0 for them in customer focus is complaint and delayed response. 1, satisfied with the response but lack clarity. 2, completely satisfied with the response. And 3, is appreciates and fully gets satisfied with the response. That is 0 to 3 response. Now you might ask, why this is so detailed? The reason being that this is just to eliminate the biases or individual prejudices available. Hence it becomes very transparent, very clear as well. And then when the appraiser is sitting along with the appraisee, a JD is also discussed, the job description. So, and one more thing that comes along with is SWOT, that is strength and weakness, opportunity and threat. So when an appraiser sits along with the appraisee, 3 things are taken up. 1, the JD, job description. 2, the SWOT, or the strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. And the third is the scale on which they are going to mark the competency scale. And this is the final sheet on which what they do is they scale themselves. So based on the whatever 5 competencies they have selected, they would rate 0, 1, 2, 3. They will discuss with the appraiser, that's the immediate manager for them, and discuss with them, come to consensus about it. Understand, friends, whenever, as far as Naveen Fluin International Limited is concerned, or for that matter, majority of the companies, if you are plotting a tree that's the maximum for Naveen Fluorine, then what Naveen Fluorine as a management philosophy that they expect is you should get an appreciation. Appreciation could be an internal client, external client. Now internal client could be interdepartment, it could be subordinate, it could be peers, it could be boss, whoever. So if it's a tree for customer focus, you need to have an appreciation from your customer, whoever your customer are in your functional domain. It's very important to understand this. Now that appreciation could be verbal, could be an email as well. So any of those could be matter. And the appreciation letter or thing has to be of that particular quarter or that particular period when the appraisal is done. It should not happen that the appraisal is done for the period between April to July and the appreciation is of last 5 years back. So it doesn't make sense. So the appreciation has to be backed up of that period. Then the three makes more sense. So understand when as future HR managers, or if you're doing already into HR, understand that you need to back up your people in understanding these tools very well, because if employees are more aware of what are they going to be appraised for, then they have a clear plan about what to go about it. And also the comment section is written where this is where the appraisal needs to be plotted in as well, so that it could give a clear idea of what's happening as well. So what NFIL has done, or Naveen Fluorine International has done, has given a detailed outlook of all the things that are being put across in the system, and also the chance of biases have also been minimized as well. So this was the first case for us. Great. So let's take a second case for us as well. The second case is of Coca-Cola. Now we take some other HR policy. The first we saw was competency. Now we look into HR policy at Coca-Cola. Now a brand that exists for more than a century now in the world market, it is synonymous with across people across the globe, across countries as well. So let's look at some HR policies that the company does right from the beginning till the end. Okay, let's look at the history of the company. I'm reiterating the fact once again. Students, please pick up 4-5 companies, make a case study out of it, understand them better, find out data from Google, from magazines, go to the website, create your own case. Those 5 companies could be the prospective company that you want to work with, or which you are fascinated or interested in. It makes much more sense. So Coca-Cola was founded in May 1886. 1886, that's approximately 130 years, by Dr. John Pemberton. And Coca-Cola was first sold to the public in Atlanta in Jacob's Pharmacy. And to start off during that period, only 9 servings of the soft drinks were sold each day. Company culture, to start off, initially, special training is given to employees. In fact, new employees are also placed with old ones to learn work and the value prevalent in the company. Understand, any organization that is 50-year plus carries along with it a culture, and there are certain cultural values for every organization. So new recruitees need also to be taken along with the old employees as well. So when they are working together shoulder to shoulder, they're also transmitting or transferring company values as well. So initially it was a novelty, but these days not a novelty. Even teas were served as a part of the company policy. Even those times, 100 years back is something. And all these small factors, even in those days, add to really taking the employees closer to each other. The company's working environment is really a good blend of Asian and Western values. So, whenever we speak of an AMNC or a TNC or transnational companies, uh, it's important as an HR manager to understand that their base location might be any country or any location. They need to be flexible enough to adapt to the companies that they are operating in. Let's look at the certain HR policies that Coca-Cola does for motivating employees. Let's speak of wages. So Coca-Cola is providing smart wages to its employees, which are competitive and really satisfactory. With wages, a lot of facilities and amenities are provided according to the policy. Also, structure, if you see, are described that blue-collar workers are offered wages along with commission salesmen. But before we get into, are you aware about our blue-collar workers or white-collar workers or pink-collar workers? So, blue-collar workers are those who do a manual jobs. They are more hardcore jobs. So those are called as blue collar. The white collar workers are those who sit in cubicles, do an administrative kind of job. Whereas the pink collared workers these days is being also mentioned are those people who interact with customers, who have intervention, for example, sales people, for example, customer relationship people. Those are all pink collared jobs. So as far as Coca-Cola is concerned, blue-collar workers are offered wages along with the commission salesmen are offered wages plus commission pursuing certain criteria. And the white-collar, the administrative guys, are officers and executives draw a handsome amount of salaries and incentives as well. Staffing and training. All over the world, they are involved in innovative programs that give hardworking, knowledge-hungry students books, supplies, and places to study and scholarship. Understand, one of the foundation blocks why even a company lasts for 100 years. Understand, students, that in all, when you speak of Coca-Cola, all companies who have survived, excelled, grew, and saw the storms of 100 years, that includes two world wars, a lot of economic turmoils of 1930s, 70s, 210s as well. It's not easy. So if a company has grown and even sustained the last 100 years, it means it has certain functions which many companies have done well. Let me tell you, not all for any startup, they say the first 1,000 days to survive is difficult because the first 1,000 days really puts them into a litmus test. Now that's about 1,000 days, but when you take a longer period of time as well, anything about 30, 40 years to survive, it takes something because it's not only about you as well, it's also about the dynamics with which you are operating as well. The socio-economic conditions, the natural calamities, when we speak of tsunami, when we speak of revolt, when we speak of catalysm, so lot of things involved. So companies who have survived 100 years, it is something, and Coca-Cola is one among them. Annual leaves. So Coca-Cola International has different leaves, structures in different regions and countries of the world where their company, where designations, based on the designations, say supervisor 26 leaves per annum, above than supervisors 26 leaves, and below supervisors 24 leaves. Time management, 8 to 4 is what the all department work. The technical function at the job between 4 to 12. Medical facilities, the treatments are provided to employees as per the designation. The medical facilities are also provided to supervisors as well as the office in the company. Understand that all HR functions these days need to back up by medical facilities because high cost of the medical fraternity, because if you are not covered, if either through an insurance or if the company is not supporting you for the medical emergencies, the cost has been multifold. And when we say multifold, sometimes people come on the roads because of medical cost, or sometimes people are thrown back 10 years back, 5 years back financially in terms of saving. So it's about Coca-Cola provides their employees with medical facilities. Mentoring programs, it's about creating a system of mentoring program that includes one-on-one mentoring, group mentoring, and mentoring self-study tools. So this is one area that we'll discuss in detail to the later part of the session about mentoring and coaching as well, and counseling put together. So mentoring program is also one of the things that they install. In mentoring, what they do is they assign some senior person, maybe from the same functional domain or sometimes from the other functional domain, to do a lot of hand holding. When we say hand holding, to give a lot of support system to the new recruitee, so that he kind of grooms himself up, he becomes more confident about his job, he can seek help, references, ask for support as well. So this is a part of natural cultural upbringing for the new inductee. Coca-Cola North America and the Minute Maid company have one-on-one mentoring program designed to foster professional growth and development. These programs promote trusting relationship for networking, coaching, career counseling, and life lessons as well. So mentoring also gives a platform where people can interact with each other. They know the development plan, the route map as well for the new person to grow. The job analysis and also the job design. So when we say the job analysis and job design, it means that the job description and job analysis in which they get information about, that means employees' work activities. It means it's about human behavior, their performance standard, their job context, and also how much of work load is there as well, based on which they do a job analysis as well. Now, a job analysis is a part of HR function. Lot of streamlining could be done as far as usage of human resources concerned, because if you don't streamline your human resource, especially when the company is expanding and growing, it can really cause turbulent times or difficult times, because you are not only optimizing the resources, not only forecasting how much of resources would be needed, human resources will be needed, which is part of job analysis. If you're not doing that, which is a part of HR function, then the company can really come to a standstill, because they might have a higher vision, they might have other infrastructural facilities as well, but if they're not optimizing the resources, it could be landing up in deep soup. Planning and forecasting. So what Coca-Cola HR department involves in the company is the strategic planning, and they also make sufficient planning for hiring new employees for the future as well. So when we say forecasting through job analysis, we get an idea about how much new job vacancies are available. They forecast for expected employees need for the organization. They forecast for employees that change technology and increase in productivity as well. We discussed this as well, that in the last case, when through competency we can look at the development plan, could be for succession planning, could be for career development, could be for training as well. Recruitment process at Coca-Cola. First of all HR department gives ads in newspaper, company websites, institutions, etc. to placement consultants. An application form from candidates when required documents and CV is asked for then analyzed. And recruitment is both internal recruitment and external recruitment. Both are done. The training policies in Coca-Cola. After recruitment, the fresh employee, they are trained for 3 months and also pay them salaries for those 3 months and they become part of the firm. So the training is an exclusive period of 3 months where they got to know the kind of functional job they need to do. Coca-Cola also gives training to existing employees depending on the TNA, depending on the competency being mapped, and also for cross-functional exposure as well. Performance appraisal in Coca-Cola is on the annual basis where HR says we appraise our employees on their performance. The compensation benefits which are there for Coca-Cola employees are basic salary. We have a bonus, one yearly bonus, medical facility, the gratuity fund, and the social security. And employee relationship that they have is an open door policy, which is the best for the employees. It means if any employee want to express his concern, he can openly do that through an HR window. The safety policy, it is to protect the employees and ensure public safety extending throughout the organization. It's about an integrated approach of innovation for safety of employees at all operational levels. It's established mechanisms to communicate effectively of the employees, consumers, and government on the safety performance. So a company with a stature of Coca-Cola can only make it big because of certain factors attributed to it. Now, a few of the factors could be about safety norms. So this was about Coca-Cola and the HR practices that the company does. So first case study we took about for competency, what Naveen International does. We have also seen from HR policies of Coca-Cola. We take the third household name as far as Asian markets are concerned, as far as IT industries are concerned. So first was the chemical industry, second was into beverages, and third is an IT company, HR Practice and Infosys Limited. Big Indian household name, has been a dream run for Infosys in the last 2 decades or so. So let's see what are the HR practices that are followed within the company. So first, the company profile. So when we look at the company profile, Infosys formerly is called as Infosys Technologies, is an Indian global technological service company headquartered in Bangalore. In fact, they were earlier based in Pune, last around 15 years based in Bangalore or Bengaluru. Infosys is ranked 27th in the list of top companies of Indian Fortune India 500 list in 2011. It has offices in 29 countries, so it's an MNC by true standards, and development centers in many countries. So when we say development centers, it's about learning labs, it's about training centers, it's about the L&D team. Infosys has close to 1.5 lakh employees of 85 nationals as in 2011, and the business they are into provides business consulting, primarily into IT, technology, engineering, and outsourcing services to help clients in over 30 countries. This is the profile about it. The TNA, 3 types of training need analysis is being done. 1, the organizational need analysis. 2, the job need analysis, and 3, the personal need analysis. When we look at the T&D department, the teams incorporate the corporate training team. They have a centralized training team. Understand training is part of HR. We need to understand that. The organizational development team, the OD team as we more commonly call it, the training department is divided across different verticals. One, the communication service providers, example British Telecom, the banking and capital markets, example UBS and Deutsche, the manufacturing vertical, example Cisco, Ingram, Micro. These are the customers as far as Infosys is concerned. The insurance and health care by Aon, and emerging markets like Yahoo and British Petroleum. So these are the different verticals that Infosys work on. It could be communication, banking, manufacturing verticals, insurance and health. So for these all companies, what Infosys does is provide IT support system. It could be developing software, it could be end-to-end IT services for those. The methodology for training as far as Infosys is concerned are things like conference, lecture, seminar, demonstration, panel interviews, role plays, case studies, simulations, self-discoveries, movies, videos, computer-based trainings, on-job trainings, and mentoring. So we have a whole list of it, host list of training methodology that are being used. Infrastructure, now this is very important as far as Infosys is concerned. In fact, Mysore campus, which is the world's biggest training center, it has close to a rupees 260 crore corporate training center, which is huge. And if you have not seen it, it really must see in Mysore. It really is a very big training center. It adds roughly around 12,000 employees every year to Infosys. It is a $60 million US training center which is housed in 270-acre campus at Mysore. 270-acre. That is some size, isn't it? And facilities the training center at the Infosys comprise of host of it, food court, employee care center, education, libraries, and hostel as well. The programs that are conducted in these training centers are induction and training program. When we say induction, the new recruitees, which we spoke about, that 12,000 employees are inducted every year, so induction, and also MDPs or management development programs, or LDPs or leadership development programs are also being conducted at a junior and middle management level. Higher efficiency trained on project management training sessions. The new recruits are trained at the Global Education Center in Mysore. The soft skill training, the technical training, the quality training, middle management leadership program as well. Conclusion that organizations cannot build a good team of working professionals without good human resource. Important point. The key function of HRM team includes recruiting people, training them, performance appraisal, motivating employees, as well as helping them communicate better, work safety, and much more. So, as far as Infosys is concerned, in this case we have primarily focused on training, which is a subset of HR functions, and sometimes people are known for their training because not only because of the infrastructure that they have, but the systems that they have, the kind of different methodology of training used, the trainers that are used of world-class standards as well. Great. So after this case, we move on to the fourth. In fact, the first was Naveen Florin International Competency Assessment. The second case we took was Coca-Cola for HR policy. Third case we took was Infosys for training. And fourth case, HR policies of Taj. Taj group of hotels, we all know that very profoundly because uh, a lot of people are touched by by the kind of uh, name or brand that they have as well. So when we speak of Taj hotel, resorts and palaces, uh, the first image that comes out when we speak of Taj is of grandeur, is about a real big thing. It's about more than life kind of thing. It's not about the hotel. It's much beyond that, and that's what the image that they have shown across. So let's look at some HR policies that Taj adopts. So before we get into, as we always done, let's check the background, and it's important to understand. So any idea who is the current CEO of Taj, or let's take Tata Groups or Tata Motors? So when you see Tata Group, we know Cyrus Mistry is very much a part of Tata. And when we speak of Taj or Hotel Taj, they are founded by Damshedji Nurisivanji Tata and is a part of Tata Group. Opened as Taj Palace in Colaba, the first one, Mumbai in December 1903. So another 100 plus year company. So understand friends, I reiterate, any organization who has survived 100 plus years is always a hat off. Hats off for the simple reason that they have survived, excelled, lasted, in fact outlasted difficult times. It has currently operates 76 hotels, 76 hotels, 7 palaces, serviced apartments, 6 private islands, 12 resorts and spas, spanning 52 destinations, 12 countries across 5 continents, and employees of roughly 13,000 odd people, which is some size when you look at from a hotel industry perspective. It is inspired to open this grand luxury hotel after Jamshedji Tata was refused entry to a suburban hotel in Mumbai for racial discrimination. So this is the reason that he opened a hotel where, because he was refused to make an entry in one of the hotels. So that's something. Why Taj? To get an insight as how HR works in a hotel industry. Understand the functions of HR also changes, or I would say fine tunes it better depending on the industry. So when we say hotel industry or tourism industry are different in by the nature that they function. So HR function also changes. So how HR works in a hotel industry? Now, how HR department helps the employees to grow and adapt to diverse cultures that they have encountered on a day-to-day basis. Now, employees have to face clients directly on 24 by 7 basis. Very important point to understand. So normally, if you go in any industry, the reach time of a customer is fixed generally. Especially, we are not talking about the digital world because there is no customer face-to-face interaction. But if you say customer face-to-face interaction, this is one of the industries where the industry needs to be 24 by 7 on the toes. The customer satisfaction is a key success factor in hotel industry, which lies majority in employees' hands. So employees is key to success in a hotel industry. This employee satisfaction is the foremost goal. Some extraordinary heroic stories of Taj employees came forward during the 26 by 11 terror attacks that we know when Taj was under terrorism clouds in September 26 in 26th of November. And we hear some real great stories about the commitment of employees to their customers in difficult and trying times. And we can't really say difficult. It's where majority of employees went beyond the call of duty. In fact, many laid their lives as well. The success story, the first will start with a training and hiring policy. Here they have a 360-degree feedback. So where when appraisal happens, it's about from the client, external client, also from subordinates and boss as well. Here we have a system of ESTS. We'll discuss this as we go along. Star. Employees share a very deep connection and a sense of pride for being associated with a legend that is Taj. People want to be associated with Taj Group of Hotels. That's the kind of brand equity they have developed. When we speak of recruitment and selection, they conduct a recruitment selection interview wherein they are very particular in certain facets, and the facets are the selection of various departments like collection, security, housekeeping, etc. is quite strict and difficult. The process of selection is through application form or written exam, medical examination, and various rounds of personal interviews. When we speak of training and development policy, 18 months training. There is some period. Normally in hotel industry around 12 months or a year. So it is 6 months more than the industry standard. So Taj gives a lot of importance on training people. So that means they're trained well on the requisite skills and competencies. They believe that employees can be trained to be better chefs or waiters, but they cannot be taught to be good individuals. And this is their philosophy as Taj is concerned. Hence, they spend a lot of time. They give due diligence, especially in recruitment selection, so that these things could be taken care of. They build leaders. That means each employee is given an authority to take the decisions pertaining to his work. That means he's under a certain preview of a zone of influence. He is able to have the leverage and the freedom to take certain decisions that he might not necessarily consult. So it's about grooming leadership, about taking decisions. Train not just on area of expertise, but all the related functions as well. They have a 360-degree feedback mechanism, and employees, including the managers and department heads, are also evaluated by their immediate subordinates as well. They are counseled at a personal level and also appraised of where they fell short of the expectation, how to go about it. So in appraisal, they make it more realistic. Understand friends, when we speak of appraisal, a lot of time systems are in place, but when it comes to application, when it comes to actual sitting in appraisal, it might not necessarily follow the path in which they're intended to be. And that's where the HR department comes into force. They need to facilitate this process so that it becomes smooth, so that it becomes really integrated, so that it's really the development plan. So they guide them to prepare a roadmap for the future, endeavor, and also tone their skills as well. So ESTS, let's speak about what ESTS is as far as Taj is concerned. ESTS is Employee Satisfaction Tracking System. A lot of companies just speak of employee satisfaction, maybe through engagement, but nobody goes on to, or very few companies go on to actually evaluate satisfaction. So when we speak of ESTS, those are conducting surveys to elicit response from the employee, and the records collected are used to rate the overall satisfaction of the employee. So periodically review is conducted about the satisfaction level of their customers, both internal and external. Target is to achieve 100% satisfaction in the course of its operations. Regularly looks into the employees' concerns and strives to address them as well. Forums for the employees to voice their recommendations to complement their colleagues as well. So it's about cross-functionally connected as well. If somebody has done a good job, so people can not only success stories could be mentioned, but also could be shared so that the other teams could also be motivated about it. It's about mandatory for the review committee to reply the employee suggestion within 2 days, or shall be allowed at default point. So any suggestions that are coming in from the customers, as per the HR policy, it's become mandatory to reply to it. They might not take an action or not, that's different. But need to reply to it. That speaks about valuing the customers. And especially when you're working in a hotel industry, valuing the customers is of prime importance. Stars is about special thanks and recognition system. So it's not only about employee engagement and customer satisfaction, it's also about if good job is done by an internal customer or by an employee, then it needs to be appraised. So great job starts as a program derived to it where customers of the organization can be satisfied, but only when the employees are satisfied. Very important point, and I would like to repeat this. Please listen. Customers of an organization can be satisfied by only when its internal employees are satisfied. That means if your employees are satisfied, then only they can satisfy external customers. Recognizing and rewarding employees who showcases excellent performance at their work as well. Promoting successively to various levels as well. It's about employees who are not just assessed on the performance, but on parameters like even the subtle parameters like honesty, trustworthiness, concern for environment, team spirit, cooperation, etc. as well, or collaboration as well. So even when these things are recognized, appreciated, then the feeling of inclusiveness comes in, the feeling of team bonding and team spirit comes in, and that's how teams are gelled and formed so that they achieve more than what they actually can or could or whatever they have thought about it. Their appreciations from the customers also fetched points as well as far as stars is concerned. There's also GFT, that is guarantee of fair treatment. Now, when we speak of guarantee of fair treatment, it first speaks about Taj, about the intention of fairness. That means they want to be fair to people around. So when we say of GFT, Taj has a comprehensive complaint resolution system in place known as the guarantee of fair treatment to ensure the employee's grievances are addressed, because Taj very well knows that if the employee's grievances or issues are not resolved or not heard as well, then it directly impacts performance, where the external customers is not handled well. So under GFT, complaints pass through successive stages based on the protocol's hierarchy, in Taj hierarchy, starting with the immediate superior, depending on whether or not the set employee was happy with the redress response at each stage. Now, we'd like to give comparison between Taj Palace and Leela Palace, two big names in hotel industry. Now, if you see one by one, Taj family considers every employee as an important member. Whereas for Leela, our brand, our reputation, our focus on people and commitment to service excellence. is their focus. Taj has a dedicated forum to raise recommendations and compliment peers. Suggestions accepted only by customers. Taj Palace, feedback is given not only by bosses or peers but also subordinates, whereas in Leela Palace, feedback only is given by seniors. In Taj Palace, assessed not only by performance but also in personal qualities as well. We discuss of honesty, punctuality as well. Where in Leela Palace, the assessed performance is based primarily on feedback of customers. Employees in Taj Palace are encouraged to take authority on a situation, whereas in Leela Palace they have to just follow seniors. So the outcome of these policies, be it GFT, be it STARS, and be it whatever HR policies that are initiated, are the employee retention rate. We spoke about attrition a couple of weeks back. Is the highest among all its competitors. That means attrition is low and retention is high. That means people who want to work with Taj and remain with Taj is more. Drives employees beyond their duties, which was totally unexpected of when the case of tsunami or the terrorist attack. In 2002, Taj Group was confirmed the Hermes Award for its innovative HR practices. So the practices were rewarded and recognized as well. With the implementation of STARS, that's about the job well done series or program, there was tremendous improvement in the service standards and also the customer satisfaction level as well. So what they do, what is it that Taj does which is different, and we need to understand this difference methodically. So what they do is, first they seek fresh recruits rather than lateral hires. Very important, because they believe that fresh people are like a clay. They could be molded and kind of groomed well. They hire from small town and semi-urban areas, not metros. They recruit from high school and second-tier business schools rather than colleges and premier B schools. They induct managers who seek a single company career and will be hands-on. They want company who want to build careers within the same company. They focus more on hiring people with integrity and devotion to duty than acquiring those with talent and skills. So Taj focuses a lot on internal attributes of values and ethics first, then rather on pure talent or skills. They train workers for 18 months, which is 6 months above industry standards. They ensure that the employees can deal with guests without consulting a supervisor, so they're trained about it, even to do cross-functional jobs as well. Teach people to improvise rather than just do things by the book. They insist that employees place guest interest over the company. They have incumbent managers, not consultants, conduct training. They use timely recognition, not money, as rewards. Ensure that recognition comes from immediate supervisors and not top management. Important. So what Taj does is they do the small things well. They say that think big and act small and smart. So it's not about only thinking and doing the big things. It's also about consistently doing the small things. So they say that start small and be consistent about it. So if you're starting, they say that small changes makes the big changes. First, you need to identify the critical distinctions that makes an impact. And once we find the critical distinctions, start making the effort consistently is important. If you are consistent enough and if your direction is right in any area of your life, it's for sure that you will achieve success, because then it's just a question of time. Because if your direction is correct, if you know which critical distinction to make a move, and if you're consistent about your focus, it's just a question of time. Success will be yours for sure. Great. So this is about Taj. Now we will be focusing on in the last part, let's say on 20-25 minutes, what we have is one of the new emerging HR practices that's globally being evolved, nascent in India, not very big, but yes, it's coming up very thick and fast, evolving very fastly, and that's about coaching and counseling. A new arena, but an important one. So let's take a case to understand this. Say for example, Hari is new at quality control. Say for example, that's his job function. He completed 3 weeks of training, understand this case well, but he has already made 2 major errors that cost the firm around $3,000. He is obviously upset and discouraged over his shaky start. If you were Hari's supervisor, what would you do? So let's understand. This is the case in the backdrop, and we'll address this as we understand this model. So coaching. So what is coaching? Coaching assists employees in getting from where they are now to where they want to be with their performance. I understand we are not saying of training. Coaching is a step ahead than training. They say that training is primarily for skill development, but training goes only to a point of time. If you want to go beyond training, there is coaching, where you get into a one-on-one kind of model where you explore frames of individual. We get into the heart of things, the heart and core of beingness. We get into motives, intentions, goals, strategies about individual orientation, and then align that with companies' competencies that are required for performance. So when we speak of coaching, it's about positive solutions and is future focused and uses strategies from performance enhancing areas such as sports and performance psychology as well. Coaching is for anyone who wants to be performing at a higher level than they currently are. It is about enhancing and maximizing performance. Now understand that coaching is different from therapy. So the earlier concept in coaching was that only those people need to be coached who need help or support. Now that's about the darker side of psychology. But with Abraham Maslow's positive psychology, looking at what could be still done better, what's good about. So the earlier therapeutic intervention was about the darker side of psychology. That's about what went wrong, what didn't work. But Abraham Maslow, when he started the human potential movement in 1950s and 60s, he started focusing on the positive human psychology. It's about looking at what could be done better. What are things that human has good in him? We are looking at from a positive psychological standpoint of view. Coaching is about performing at your best through the individual and private assistance of someone who will challenge, stimulate, and guide you to keep growing. The 5-stage coaching process involved is identify specific goals and objectives. What do you want to achieve? Assessing current performance level. How are you performing right now? Performance improvement plan. That's about identifying areas where performance could be improved. It could be about strategy, approach, route map, plan, design, blueprint. The action plan. Developing specific action steps to take. That means coaching, end of the day, has to lead to actionable areas. It's about what are the action areas. Execute and evaluate. It's about ongoing action, evaluating progress of coaching, resetting of goals, and has to be achieved. That means about designing the strategies, implement it, test it, what worked, what didn't work, what need to be fine-tuned, and then going ahead. The benefits of coaching. If you see the benefits of coaching that we will see are: avoid making mistakes in both your business and personal life. You accomplish more in less time. You minimize problems and enable you to tackle those that remain. Achieve lasting happiness with a better life. Climb the ladder in your career for personal development as well. Helps you become more effective and influential as well. Helps you more attractive to others. And rapidly enhance performance for managers and leaders, decreasing the necessary development time between promotions. Now, coaching is also the tool used for leadership. It's also a tool used for grooming people. It's also a tool used for responsibility and ownership as well. Learned leadership behavior that results in higher levels of job satisfaction. So if somebody is doing it on your own self with conviction, it also speaks volumes about the intent and responsibility as well. There's an increased employee motivation and productivity as well. There's a decreased attrition, greater retention of managerial and executive talent. Now, if a leader is groomed through coaching, and he also knows that it's not about what somebody else is saying what to do, it's about he himself has designed a route map within the framework of the organization, yes, but he himself has designed a strategy about it, and he takes a lot of ownership about it. It's about improved ability to appropriately delegate and accomplish more through others as well. It's increased ability to coach and develop direct reports. So whenever you're dealing with subordinates as well, this becomes a handy tool. There's improved communication and interpersonal relationship as well. There's improved morale and motivation among employees. Significantly lowered expenses for severance, recruitment, and hiring. They say that motivation, especially if it is given from outside, be it compensation or anything that is from outside, appreciation, it doesn't last much. Anything that is coming from inside or which is driven by growth, people tend to move up very fast. Use of coaching. It is primarily to support newly promoted executives, fast track high potential executives on the top, accelerate the personal development of key executives and board members, support individuals as well, and teams during organizational change programs. So there's also a tool used as a change process. Now, change could be an individual change for designation. It could be change of the organization as such because of climate change, cultural change of the organization, maybe through JVs or mergers and acquisitions or opening in different topographic locations. It could be any of those. And it is also to support individuals and teams during organizational change programs and reward and retain key staff as well. The coaching skills that are required, and Important to understand these skills as well. Now, when we say of coaching skills, it means that skills required are accountability, acknowledgement, challenging, listening for context, not for content. Means we are if a coach is listening to his coachee, he need to listen for the frames behind it. That means what is behind that language. It's about preparing for change. It's about creating creative language. It's about discovery questions, informing, telling the truth, and transformation. The 7-step coaching, although there are various coaching models available, right from ICF to meta coaching as well. But there are various, one of the models that we will discuss over here is a 7-step coaching model. And the model it has is systemic model. Systemic means they're related to each other as well. There is an access current situation, means where are we now, create brainstorming for better paths, visioning, hone goals means decide where do you want to go, initiate option generation, that means the route maps, which route to take, evaluate available options, valid action plan design, and encourage momentum as well. When we speak of assessing the current situation, the key coaching behaviors, it makes informed use of assessment instruments. Express a sincere interest in the client's life stories. Takes time to understand the situation from a client's perspective as well. Listen deeply so that the client is fully engaged. Now, listening is one of the prime skills required for coaching. Create a sense of connection, that means rapport. Observes and registers all verbal and non-verbal communication as well. The key coaching behaviors, when we say of brainstorming, they utilize a variety of tools and techniques to interpret the client's habitual patterns, thus breaking the stuck state. Now, the patterns could be about within the language, it could be gestures, it could be the eye contact, it could be the behavioral patterns. They surprise the client with creative and unexpected questions. So, in coaching, you need to put forth good quality questions. So, coaching is not just about asking questions, it's about asking a right kind of contextual questions which is leading the coachee in the direction which he wants to. Brainstorms a variety of alternatives to the current situation, probing beyond initial responses to unearth a broad spectrum of options available. Hone goals. So when we say of hone goals in coaching, it's about encourages precise definition of goals in positive terms. Take times and develop smart goals which are specific, measurable, which are achievable, realistic, and time bound. Works with the client to develop goals with high personal meaning and relevance. It ensures that the goals are in fact the client's goal. It's not only about the organization, but about the client's goal. Develop a specific set of measurement with the client to provide clear evidence of goal achievement. So the question that is asked in coaching is, first, what do you want to achieve or what do you want as an outcome? Two, how will you know that you have got this outcome? What will let you know that you have reached wherever you want to reach? Initiate possible generation. So here we are strategizing what we want to do. It exhibits confidence in the process and work with the client to develop alternative pathway to desired goal. Use a broad spectrum of techniques and question styles to stimulate the client to generate options. Provide space and time for client to think creatively. Ensure that the client owns the option generated. Understand in a coaching process, if a coach is going to give solutions or appears to be consultant like do this, do that, then the responsibility decreases. Understand that if you want to make people more responsible, make them more accountable, make them more resourceful, make them to look into those areas very clearly and accessible as well. Then encourage the client to develop personal meaningful criteria for the evaluation of options, since these criteria form the basis of option selection. So when we say here option selection, it's about what works well. So when various options are given through, we will discuss that what kind of options really works well. Evaluate the risk benefit, the cost benefit as well. Valid action plan design. So once we boil down to action, the step, then we need to come into which route to take. That means create a detailed action plan with the client. That means which action plan the client need to take about it. So it means that create detailed action plan with the client. Work with the client to check the feasibility and achievability of the plan. Fires the action plan in writing as well. So understand, the plan need not be just discussed or brainstormed. It has to boil down and come into paper. They say that if you can think it, ink it, because what writing does, it crystallizes all your thoughts into a written format. Because our brain normally thinks in abstract. Once it puts down into a writing, it really puts a real, and that's what mind mapping is all about. It gives you perspective about things. So make a writing action plan. Ensures that the client's commitment to the action plan as well. So check intentions of commitment. Encourage momentum. So we want motivational drive now. So demonstrate continuing interest in the development of the client. Organize regular check-in, keep on track, follow up on coaching sessions. Like when you meet in a coaching plan, the frequency of meeting could be once in a fortnight or once in a month. First question to be asked, where have we progressed from where we were? What's working well? What does not work for you? Think questions like this. Take measures throughout the coaching program to avoid dependency and know where to end the partnership as well. Look into where it goes in as well. So when we say of coaching core competencies, it means setting the foundation, meeting ethical guidelines and professional standards, establishing the coaching agreement as well, co-creating the relationship. That means establishing trust and intimacy with the client, the presence of the coach. We need to have active listening that we discussed, powerful questions. The questions need to be pinpointed, sharp, and open-ended questions. A direct communication need to be established. Create awareness. They say that the coach is an awareness raiser or awareness builder. Designing action plan, planning and goal setting, and managing progress and accountability as well. This was about the coaching. Now, HR function also has counseling as one of the parameter or mentorship model as well. So what is counseling? So many people go for career as counselor, knowing the nature of social needs. Now understanding the nature of responsibilities and understanding as well. So what do counselors do in short? And we need to understand the difference as well, which we will find out soon. So when we say counselors are individual assessment, they are group counselors and guidance, their career assessment as well, and placement and follow-up as well. They do consulting, referral, research, evaluation, accountability, and also prevention as well. So when we see a guidance counselor model, it's about guidance from an MD. From an organizational context, we have an MD, that is management manager director, and we have guidance counselor related to other management and employees, and there are customers as well. So counseling competency or counseling skills required, the individual, groups and assessment skill, the group counseling, development and use of employment related information, computer related skills, since at one point of time it might go online as well, employment plan development, implementation, case management. The placement skills, community relationship skills are also part of counseling skills required. The workload management and intra-relationship skills as well. Professional development skills, the ethical and legal issues involved as well. Importance, increasing standards for counselor preparation, increasing attention to specialty fields, increased use of technology, increased focus on empirical results, and updating profession traditional theories as well. These are the theories which are there. There's a renewed attention as well as expanding career counseling partners as well. There's an increasing attention to public communication, political activity as well. Increased attention to program relevancy, and multicultural sensitivity need to be looked into, and increased globalization of the profession as well. Now, with this in root, we need to understand the difference. Since we have seen from a coaching and counseling, we need to understand the difference also between a coaching and a counseling. So when we say counseling, it has a broader focus and greater depth. If you can see the slide, coaching is very much narrowed down. It's a very zoomed in kind of approach. The goal in counseling is to help people understand the root cause of a long-standing performance problem or issue at work. Whereas in coaching, the goal is to improve an individual performance at work. Counseling, if you see, it is a short-term intervention, but can last for long periods due to the breadth of the issues to be addressed. Since they address many issues, the tenure of counseling could be for a longer period of time. Whereas in coaching, it tends to be as a short-term intervention because they are very much target-oriented, very focused. Counseling can also be addressed social, psychosocial as well as performance issues, whereas coaching does not resolve any underlying psychological problems, because there it becomes therapy and it gets into psychoanalysis and psychotherapy. It assumes in coaching that the person is psychologically fit. In counseling, the agenda is generally agreed by the individuals and the counselor. The agenda is typically set off by the individual. Here the coachee sets his individual agenda. Here the coach is just a facilitator to the process. In counseling, other stakeholders are rarely involved, whereas in coaching, other stakeholders could be a role model, could be support group, are definitely involved. Few of the differences being in mentoring, this is about counseling and coaching. Now we'll see the difference in mentoring and coaching, how they are different as well. In mentoring, the ongoing relationship that can last for a long period of time. In coaching, the relationship generally has a short duration. So especially in organization, mentoring is by a senior and it extends for a large grooming period. Mentoring can be more informal and meetings can take place as and when the mentee needs some advice, guidance or support. Whereas in coaching, generally is more structured in nature and meetings are scheduled on a more regular basis and more broader view of person-centered mentoring, mentors are usually more experienced, whereas coaching is not performed on this basis well. Focus is more on personal nature. In coaching, it is more developmental nature as well. So, conclusion.